Master Your Mindset Radio, episode 31.
Welcome to Master Your Mindset Radio, the show where we empower you to conquer limiting beliefs and transform your world with your gifting and purpose. Now for your host, Elizabeth Nader.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. Happy to have you here. We are in very, very strange times right now, in uncharted waters, I would say, with this whole coronavirus and the pandemic and the resulting effect to really every area of our lives. And so we really want to talk about that because it is not even the elephant in the corner anymore. It is the elephant sitting on us, so to speak, right? It's a very stressful time for a lot of people. And I want to encourage you with this podcast and just share with you some things that I have been through really in the last 10 days or so that may help you, and a way to look at this that sheds light on the opportunity, sort of the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. I realized this weekend I had been struggling so much with how to feel about all of this as a small business owner, as a mother, as somebody who coaches entrepreneurs and helps people with mindset, and just so many people hurting and so many things happening out there that of no fault of anybody's, right? It's just been foisted upon us, not only the virus and the threat of it, but also all the shutdowns and the taking away of people's livelihoods and all the things that are happening just out of the blue in some ways to us, and a loss of a life that we had, entering an unknown season, and then we have to rebuild from that. And so, especially as a small business owner, I'd been going through a lot of emotions regarding all of this. And since I'm a mindset coach, I'm constantly looking at myself through that lens and trying to figure out where am I at with my mindset and how to challenge myself. And I realized this weekend that I was coming to a point where I was coming to acceptance. And I looked back on the last 10 days and it hit me that I had gone through basically the stages of grief. I went through them very quickly, but I went through them. And I have been through those with real loss, right? And so I don't want to minimize in any way or equivocate what we're going through with the loss, God forbid, of someone that we love. And there are people through this crisis who are losing loved ones, and that is just horrible. But I wanted to share with you the emotions behind the loss of the life that we knew, or things that we knew or we were comfortable with, and where we are today now in this sort of new reality. And I realized that I had really gone through those stages, and I looked at, actually, there are different people depending on who you follow that say, there are 5 stages of grief, there are 7 stages of grief, whatever there are. But I looked at a few stages and I thought, yeah, that's exactly what I had been through. And I wonder if you can relate to this. So I wanted to share it with you because there's a lot of good news in that. Because I think by identifying the stages of grief, and grief is really about the loss of something you knew. Grief is about dealing with something that you can't control. Grief is about facing into something that happened that's beyond your ability to change. And that's really a lot that has to do with grief. And so I think in many ways, people that have been deeply affected by this virus in whatever way are dealing with certain stages of grief, depending on which particular thing has affected them. So I want to look at what those stages were and just kind of share with you my personal journey, and maybe there's some things you can relate to. And if you look at the 7 stages of grief, the first one is shock and denial. And I wonder how many of you can relate to that response of, wow, what is happening? I mean, it literally felt like a domino effect. I'm looking around the world and we're starting to see the effect of it in other countries, and it's not really hitting us at home here. But for me, I started to pay more attention because our family had 2 different international trips planned, one in March and one in April, that we've been planning for a long time. And so I was paying attention to what was going on in other countries because it became clear fairly quickly that this may affect our travel plans, which affects a lot of things for us. And so I started to look at all of that, and I think I was in a little bit of denial because I thought, no, it won't affect us. This isn't really going to be a big thing. Oh, it can't be a big thing. It's going to burn out. This will just be short-term plans that these countries are doing just to minimize the impact of it, and everything will be up and running soon. And there was a lot of denial, which I kind of was like trying to hold this tsunami at bay as though I could have any effect on it. But I think that's a coping mechanism, is to deny what is really about to happen because you're sort of in shock that it's happening. And so I thought that was a stage I definitely went through, and I think many people I know did as well, where we just were in a state of denial and then in a state of shock when I suddenly realized, wait a minute, this is about to really impact me personally. And of course, for us, because of the international trips, it started to impact us there. So I had a trip actually to Israel in April with 18 other people, and it became pretty clear that that was in jeopardy. My husband had another trip a few weeks before that to his home country of Lebanon, and it became pretty quickly apparent that that was in jeopardy. And all of a sudden the dominoes started to fall, and we started to wonder then, well, wait a minute, we're going to have to make these big decisions if we should even go. Should we even go? And of course, eventually, within a short period of time, it wasn't our decision to make anymore. The decision was made for us. So then we start to move into the second stage of pain, right? And according to the people that work on grief counseling, they say it's pain and guilt. Not a lot of guilt, but definitely a lot of pain, because now we're starting to look at lost opportunities, and now all of a sudden it's hitting home to people I know, to jobs that are in question, to entrepreneurs who have to close down their businesses, to people that suddenly can no longer do the work that they do, to our business losing revenue. And all of a sudden now it's starting to hit us hard, and that fear sets in of the unknown, and that pain sets in. What am I going to do? This is actually going to cost me big time. This is actually going to affect me in a way that I can't escape. And that really is the second stage of grief, which is that pain. And so I definitely went through that. And every time I got a text from an entrepreneur that said, "What can I do? Help me," that pain just mounted. Every time I heard from a colleague whose business is based on things like travel or conferences or catering or whatever, people that run salons, these texts and these messages, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? The pain was mounting, and realizing that, oh my gosh, this is that tsunami, and it's coming, and it's not getting less. It's not minimizing. It's actually getting bigger. So then we move from pain, and that was a tough stage. And I'm telling you, it's weird, because these stages, I felt myself going through them within days, rather than most loss I've had in terms of losing ones I loved. These stages, I think you go through over months. Some people go through them over years. But this was like ripping off a Band-Aid, right? So from pain, what's next? Anger and bargaining. Definitely went to that stage, and so many people I know did too. Just angry at what's happened because you're out of control. This virus has taken away our ability to control our environment. And we like to control our environment, don't we? Everyone does to some degree. I mean, it makes us feel safe that we have a say-so over, or we think we do, over our world, our little world, whatever that is, that we have some sense of control. We really don't have the control that we think we do, but the sense that we have it is enough to make us feel safe and secure. And so all of a sudden now we're into this sense that we don't have it, and someone took it from us. And we get into a mode of anger and almost bargaining, like, listen, there's got to be a way. I don't want to go through this. There's got to be a way we can get around this. We have to get around this. Well, we can't get around it. It's this unseen enemy, and we have to deal with that, and it's mounting and mounting every day, and we don't have anything to bargain with. We don't have the ability to say to those in government, no, please don't let this affect my life, right? Nobody could control that. And so that stage of anger was like, are you kidding me? Because I think we all sort of knew what we were heading into, which was potential catastrophe, potential, unknown of any possible length. And that made me angry. And I think also the sense that some people didn't understand how traumatic this situation was also, really kind of made me angry. And I soon realized that there was no way to bargain or talk my way out of this, that it's so much bigger than me. And that's another stage, really, when something happens to us that we can't control, when we have a loss of something that we go through, which is the anger and bargaining stage. And right after that comes this sense of what they say in the grief steps is depression or reflection. And, for me, I didn't hit the depression part of it, but definitely moved into reflection like, wow, okay, I can't change this. What's going on? It's just coming at me like a train. And all of a sudden realizing that my life has to change, that my businesses have to change, that I may be forced to face something I never thought I would have to face. And so many of my friends and colleagues, so many people just saying, what is this new thing now? And really reflecting on the fact that life has changed as we know it. And going from that stage, and again, this is happening like in rapid succession, maybe in large part because things are happening out there so rapidly, but also because I think personally I push myself. I push myself to get through some stages where I know they're not healthy because I know better, but I also know that that's normal to go through. So moving from that sort of reflection or down stage to where I start to settle into kind of a reconstruction. And when there's grief and when there's loss or when we're facing change we can't control, we suddenly realize that things are going to change and that we have to reconstruct our lives. We have to reconstruct our mindset. We have to work through the challenges ahead of us. And that is a better stage to be in, right? Because all that energy that we spent being angry, being sad, being reflecting and kind of having that lonely sense of isolation, of being left behind, even though this is happening really to everyone, the pain of it all has to turn into something that's constructive. And so the next step really after sort of, it's like an upward turn. And that's what they say in the grief steps is you start to sense this upward turn. And it's not because your circumstances have changed. That's what's so interesting about it. Circumstances haven't changed for people, but those who are making it through this process and getting to the point where they can start to look at reconstruction, they can start to look at working through that which is happening to them. They're the ones that are going to come out of this better. And I'm determined to be one of those people. I hope you are as well. So if you look at that stage and those two stages really of the grieving process, which is the upward turn, kind of turning the corner, right? And starting to consider reconstruction and working through what's happening to you and what that's going to look like now with the new life that you're going to be facing. All of us are going to face a different world now. It's not going to be the way we used to go about business. It just can't be. In fact, I would say to you, if you try to live your life the same way you did before this pandemic, then that's a lost opportunity. I talked about that in my video in our Facebook group yesterday morning, that if you go through this whole process and you don't look for opportunities to better yourself, then you are missing out on a great opportunity to change your life in ways that will ultimately bless you more than you can imagine. So now this reconstruction stage and this working through is starting to understand that not only do I have to do that, but maybe this is actually a good thing, right? Maybe now I have the time to do this, because I can tell you, and I am sure all of you would agree, before this pandemic basically shut us down, we are all on the hamster wheel, right? We are all on the hamster wheel of life, just absolutely running like crazy. And I have 4 kids, so you can multiply all that times 4 teenagers basically, and running around and doing all the things that life requires of us. And never before have any of us been stopped in such a dramatic way. We have been stopped in so dramatically, it's like someone just hit the button that just, like that button on the treadmill, if you're going to fall or you're starting to slip and you just hit the red button and everything stops, boom, stops. That's what it felt like. It just felt like somebody, maybe God reached down, I don't know, hit the red button, but everything stopped. And so now it's reconstructing, what kind of life do we want to live? What does that need to look like? And accepting the fact, and that is the 7th step of the grieving process and the last step, acceptance and hope. accepting the fact that this has happened, accepting the fact that while it's painful, while we got angry, there was really nothing we could do to prevent it or nothing we could do about it except join in the process of healing. And of course, right now too, we're all joining in the process of trying to protect each other and do the right things and survive from a health standpoint, but really just accepting the fact that the world has changed. And if that's a loss of a job that we have to accept, a loss of business revenue, some people may have to lose their business altogether. Hopefully not. Hopefully there will be help and we can rebuild. But there is acceptance of some loss because it will not be the same. So now we get to that last stage. And the great thing about that stage is it's acceptance and hope. And without hope, we cannot survive any of this. Without hope, there is no way to move forward. But I would say to you that through that process, you don't see hope at every stage of the grieving process. You just don't, because it's not normal for us as humans. We have to go through all of that, the shock, the denial, the pain of it, the anger, the bargaining, the reflection and depression, and then start to sense like there's an upward turn. And really, you know what's interesting about that? It's been such a short time for me that I have no data to say to you that the upward turn that I'm starting to feel has any meaning in terms of data. Because actually, as I say this to you and as I record this podcast, there are more and more cases of this virus every day, and the shutdown is looming longer and longer. It's not that the data has changed, the circumstances have changed, it's that my mindset has changed. And that's everything that needs to change first. And I think if you remember, I did a short video, and maybe it was a podcast, but maybe it was a short video, I'm not sure, but on recovery time, which is like when you look at a professional athlete and when they get injured, they want to shorten that recovery time so they can get back on the field. And I think that a sign that we are able to master our mindset and a sign that we are always improving in those areas is that we have a shorter recovery time, so that when something happens to us, it doesn't take us weeks in some cases to bounce back, if you will. It doesn't necessarily take us, days. Sometimes we can do it in moments, in minutes, in hours. In this case, this is a pretty big thing. For me, I think it took me days. For me, it took me a longer than I would like it to have to get to where I needed to go. And listen, I still remain righteously angry, if you will, about what's happening to families and to small businesses. And the reason for that is that I want to maintain a voice that we need help. I want to maintain a voice that the right thing needs to be done. So that anger is good anger. That's anger about something that can be done. I mean, I can acerbate all of my opinions about that in a way that should be helping people, right? Things that the government needs to do. And I've never been one to ask the government to do anything, but in this case, they have to. So that is kind of a righteous anger. I don't count that as a grieving step because that other anger I had was not righteous. If anything, it was probably a little more self-pity, really, honestly. So now I see that I've gone through these stages and I see, for me, it's been a matter of days. You may not be there yet. You may be in one of these 7 steps. You may still be in shock and denial. You may still be sort of in that depressed and reflective mode. I'm not sure where you're at with any of this, but I can tell you it's normal, first of all. It's normal to go through that process. But what is key is that you go through it. You don't get stuck in it. And the more that you can go through it on your own, not related to circumstances changing, the stronger you will be. In other words, if you are relying only on the changes in circumstances to change your mindset, if you're relying only on good news, if you will, to feel better and to have hope, then you're not really strengthening your mindset muscle because you're still reliant on things going your way, if you will, for you to feel better. And the sign that you have gotten to a point where you can look at the world through the filter of hope and through the filter of positivity and through the filter of somebody who believes the best can happen out of any circumstance, the sign of that is that when circumstances are at its worst, you're able to approach it with a positive mindset that moves you forward, right? That's a sign now that you've matured to that point. And that's what we always want to work on getting to. And when these catastrophic things happen in our lives, it's a test of that, and it's a chance to step up. I now see this with hope. I now see this with possibility. My head is spinning with so many opportunities to be better, for my businesses to be better, for my family to be better, for my kids, my marriage, my relationships, my spirituality. I see this pause in life as a chance to hit reset. And I'm not sitting on the couch watching Netflix movies, because I got to tell you something. I came out of that pain and that anger and that shock and denial. And now I am at the point where I'm saying, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. I have so much I want to do, and I have so much to give and so much to do. And I am busy. I am so busy, but I'm busy in a way that's related to my purpose. I'm busy in a way that I believe is changing lives around me. And I'm busy in a way that will change me forever for the better. And I hope that is true for you as well. So we can go through those stages, and it's okay. And we have to be kind to ourselves. It's all right. I said the other day, it's okay to accept the fact that something bad is happening, that the diagnosis is negative, but we don't have to sign up for the prognosis, which says you're never going to recover. Things will never be the way you want them to be. We don't need to sign up for that. We create our own prognosis. The one thing we can control is our mind and our attitude and the way we direct it. And the reason that's so important is because that is the thing that will eventually create our reality. Our thoughts create our reality for tomorrow. So that one thing you can control is the most important thing to control. Can you control what's happening with this virus? No. Can you control what your local officials do? No. Can you control what's happening to your career or your business? No. Can you control what the federal response will be to all of this? You can't control any of that, and you know that. You know that. So what do we focus on? The one thing we can control. And if we do it in a way where we see hope, we do it in a way that we accept what's happening to us, we stop kicking against it, right? Because that's a natural response. And I definitely did that the first few days of this process for me. I was kicking against it in denial, like this is not going to happen to me, which is so funny to say, because who was I to think I could stop any of it? But there is that stage that you go through. And as soon as I stopped doing that, and I allowed myself to go through these stages, allowed myself to go through to the point where I was in acceptance, now I feel so much hope. I wish I could package it and sell it, because I really do. I know I have a lot of work to do. I know there's a lot to be done in our country. I know that my friends who own businesses have a lot of work to do. We need to retool. We need to change. We need to do things we haven't done before. But the opportunities that come from this, and I'm not talking about people taking advantage of this as an opportunity, right? I'm not talking about that. I mean the chance to change, and the chance to up-level yourself, and the chance to work on your mindset and find a new way to approach life, and deepen your disciplines and become better at everything. The opportunities here are endless. And I think if we take that position, we change the outcome of this in our lives, because that is your choice. Nothing else that is happening right now, none of it is your choice. None of it is under your control, but you can control what you do with it. So I want you to understand wherever you're at in these stages, it's okay, as long as you keep moving forward to the last stage of acceptance and hope. And really hope, the most important. When you lose hope, you really have nothing else. So I pray for you wherever you are in all of this, no matter what pressure you are under, no matter what it is you're facing, that you will come to the end of yourself and understand that God wants you to succeed through this. In fact, He wants to turn it for good in your life. And when we get to that point where we accept that, acknowledge that, and we have that hope, then we become invincible once again. Then we can go out and change our world, even in the darkest of circumstances, even when the facts are not in our favor, even when this thing continues to rage. We can be the light in the darkness. And that is my hope for you. So blessings to all of you guys. I'm excited to see what this challenge will do for so many people, because I believe so many people will come out of this better. And I want to remind you guys, I had to reschedule my mindset reset, of course, because it was March 28th, which wasn't going to happen. So now it is June 6th, Saturday, June 6th. And what's great about that is there are more people now who can attend. And this is the time to work on all of this. You know now, I believe, the only way to survive these kind of things that are going to keep happening to us in our future, just the world is getting stranger and stranger, is for you to work on your mindset. Because the entire way to approach this is with the strength of mind. There is no other way to approach things. You need to rely on God, and you need to rely on a strong mind, and you need to be in control of that and only that in order to really triumph, in order to be somebody who can rise above all of these circumstances. So we've got to do that work. So you guys can go ahead and still register for that, but look for some more things for me to come on that. I'm adding some great bonuses to the people that have already registered and those that'll fill up those last few seats for June 6th. Some really fun bonuses. So don't forget to look at that and see if it's something that you want to work into your life. I'm so grateful for you guys. I appreciate your continued loyalty, and I pray for each of you that you come out of this challenge stronger. Whatever it is you're facing, my heart goes out to you, and I don't deny the pain of it, believe me. But I do want you to know that there is a massive light at the end of this, and that we will bounce back quickly if we decide that we can. It's all in what we decide to do. God bless you guys. Have a great week. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Master Your Mindset Radio. Before you go, if you want to be part of a free online community of like-minded individuals for support, resources, and inspiration as you conquer your limiting beliefs and pursue your purpose, go to elizabethnader.com/community. That's elizabethnader.com/community, or search for Master Your Mindset Academy private group on Facebook. Looking forward to seeing you online.